I never imagined my own daughter would look me straight in the eyes and scream that I was a freeloader while she was living under my roof, eating my food and spending my money. The words hit harder than the fork she slammed against her plate. "You take and take and take," Levana shouted, her voice sharp enough to carve the air. "You and Thorn just sit here while I carry everything Thorn froze beside me." His hand halfway to his glass. My husband had endured plenty in his 68 years, but nothing prepared him for our daughter's rage. His brows lifted, stunned, as if he were watching a stranger inside our dining room instead of the child he helped raise. I kept my palms flat on the table. "Levana," I said quietly, "you need to stop. Stop." She let out a laugh I didn't recognize. "Stop what?" Speaking the truth. Her cheeks were flushed, eyes wild with something far heavier than anger. She leaned forward until I could feel her breath on my face. "You are just freeloaders." The words cracked something deep in my chest. Something I had carried since the day I gave birth to her after 39 hours of labor. I steadied myself, breathing once, slow and measured. "I will not sit here and be spoken to like this." "Oh, please," she snapped. "You act like you deserve something from me." Thorn finally found his voice. "Levana, that is enough." But she ignored him. She always ignored him when she wanted to hurt me more. I reached beneath my chair, fingers brushing the thin envelope I had placed there earlier. For days, I had expected this moment without knowing how it would arrive. And now, here it was, burning between us like a quiet truth. I slid it across the table toward her. "You have 24 hours to leave this house." Levana's smirk faltered. "What is this supposed to be, the truth in writing?" I answered. She stared at the envelope but didn't touch it. Thorn's hand covered mine, warm and shaking. I kept my eyes on Levana, because if I looked away now, I would fall apart. This did not start tonight, not by a long stretch, and I needed to understand how it had come to this at all. 2 years earlier, I opened my front door without realizing I was also opening old wounds. Levana stood on the porch with 2 suitcases and eyes that looked both exhausted and defensive. "Before you say anything," she blurted, "I left him. I am done. I cannot keep pretending everything is fine." Thorn stepped in first. "Come inside, sweetheart. You look worn out." She brushed past me, her voice tight. "I just need a place for a little while." Thorn glanced at me with that pleading look he had mastered over the years. "Maris, she's our only child." I swallowed the old ache rising in my chest. "You can stay," I said softly, "however long you need." Levana nodded without looking at me. "Thanks. I knew you would not let me fall apart." That was her way of hugging me words instead of arms. We sat at the kitchen table, the 3 of us orbiting around her pain. She told us about the separation, the arguments, the mounting debts her husband refused to face. Her voice cracked once, but she bit it back quickly. "It is fine," she muttered. "I will figure it out." "You do not have to do it alone," I replied. For the first time that night, she looked directly at me. "Good, because everything is on my shoulders." Still, Thorn reached over, covering her hand. "You are safe here." She let him hold it. She didn't let me. The next morning, she began settling in as if she had lived with us forever. Her suitcases stayed open on the guest bed. Her shoes found their way to the hallway. She changed the television channel without asking. Small things. Nothing I wanted to confront. On the 3rd day, I walked in just as she answered a call on speakerphone. "Yeah, I moved back in," she said, sounding almost proud. Mom practically owes me this after everything. My breath caught, but she didn't turn around. Her friend laughed through the phone. "Must be nice." Levana shrugged. "Well, someone owes me a break." I stood there quietly until she ended the call. She finally glanced at me. Do not start, Mom. I mean it. I didn't. I simply stepped back and let the moment settle over me like cold air. The voice inside me whispered its warning again, quiet and persistent. And I ignored it all the same. In Charleston, houses carry history. I just never expected mine to become a battlefield of pride. It started small, the way storms do. Lavana stood in the living room one afternoon, arms crossed. "This couch is dated," she declared. "And that lamp, Mom, it looks like something from a thrift bin." Thorne lifted his gaze from the newspaper. "Your mother likes that lamp." "Well, she should not." Lavana replied, "If I am going to be here, the place needs to feel functional." I swallowed the annoyance rising in my throat. "It functions just fine." She gave a dismissive wave. "We will fix it later." "We," Thorne repeated. She ignored him. By the second week, she had opinions about the bills. "Why is water this high? And why are you paying for a landline? People stopped using those 15 years ago because I like the landline." I answered. Lavana shook her head. "You two need better management." Thorne looked up again, confused. "Management of what?" "Everything," she said. "Honestly, if I were not here, this house would fall apart." He opened his mouth to defend us, but she had already walked away. Sunday came, and she was on a video call with my sister Lydia. I passed behind her just in time to hear, "Yeah, I am basically running the house now. They need the help. They just do not admit it." Lydia's laugh carried through the speaker. "Well, good for you. At least they finally have someone responsible around." Lavana smirked. "Exactly." Thorne watched from the doorway, eyes narrowing. "That is not right," he murmured once she ended the call. "She is stressed," I said, though the words tasted like excuses. Later that evening, she approached the dining table where I was sorting mail. "Mom," she said casually, "you know, at your age, you should think about retiring the house early." "Retiring," I repeated. "Transferring it," she clarified, tapping the deed envelope with her finger. "You could put my name on it now. It would simplify things." Thorne's chair scraped loudly. "Lavana, that is not a casual suggestion." She raised her hands. "I am just saying, it would protect the house." I gathered the papers slowly. "The house is already protected." She sighed as if I were being unreasonable, then walked out as though the matter was settled. But it sat inside me, sharp and heavy, turning kindness into something else entirely. I used to think Charleston humidity was the heaviest thing I'd ever carry. That was before Lavana decided to unload years of resentment into the walls of my home. It began with a morning comment over coffee. "I cannot believe how small this kitchen feels," she muttered. "No wonder I grew up thinking cramped spaces were normal." Thorne set down his mug. "This kitchen raised you just fine." "It raised me anxious," she shot back. "You two never understood that." I looked at her carefully. "What brought that on life?" She snapped. "My marriage is a disaster. My bank account is drowning, and half of that is because of the way I was raised." Thorne blinked. "Half, yes. Half," she repeated. I had no sense of stability, no emotional foundation, and now I am paying for that. The words landed harder than she knew, or maybe she knew exactly. Later that afternoon, she followed me into the hallway. "You think I am overreacting," she said. "Arms folded tight. I think you are hurting." I answered. She scoffed. "Hurting because of you. You never taught me how to handle money. I had to learn everything the hard way." "You never wanted to listen," Thorne said from behind us. His voice was gentle, but the truth in it hit her like a slap. She spun on him. "Of course you take her side by me. I am not taking sides." "You always take her side," she insisted. Stepping closer, Every mistake I make is somehow my fault. Meanwhile, you two act like saints. I stepped between them. No one here is calling themselves saints. Well, maybe you should, she hissed. You sit here with your tidy life while mine falls apart. That night, I heard her in the guest room, her voice low through the cracked door as she spoke on a video call. Yeah, I am basically supporting the house now, she told whoever was on the other end. If I leave, everything will collapse. They cannot manage anything. The lie slid through my chest like a dull blade. Thorne found me standing outside her door. Let it go tonight, he whispered. She is overwhelmed. I nodded, though nothing inside me felt settled. Somewhere beneath the softness of her smile and the familiar cadence of her voice, something deeper was shifting, and I felt the tremor before I saw the break. The ugliest truths are never shouted. They are whispered when they think you are asleep. It was past midnight when I stepped into the hallway, careful not to wake Thorne. I only wanted a glass of water. Instead, I heard Levana's voice leaking through the cracked door of the guest room low, sharp, deliberate. They will sign the house over eventually, she murmured. They are soft. All old people crack if you apply enough pressure. My hand froze on the banister. A man's voice responded, muffled but firm. She cut him off. No, I am not worried. I have been pushing them. Mom is halfway there. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Levana continued, her tone cold. Look, I am not staying here out of kindness. I am owed something. After what they put me through, I deserve this house. My chest tightened painfully. I pressed a hand against it to keep from making a sound. I will get what I am owed, she repeated, quieter this time. The silence between her words was worse than the words themselves. Then came the twist of the knife. Yes, I talked to someone already. They said I should bring up transfer rights. Apparently, once I am helping with the home, I can make a case. She is old enough that it will not look suspicious. The man chuckled, and Levana joined him. It was a cruel, dry laugh, nothing like the little girl giggle I once knew. My throat burned, but no tears came yet. I stood there, frozen, until her voice softened. Anyway, it is only a matter of time. She will hand it over. She always caves. That was the blow that finally broke me. I stepped back into the shadowed hallway, lowering myself slowly to the floor so my knees would not make noise. My breath trembled, shallow and uneven. The tears came silently, sliding down my cheeks as I covered my mouth with both hands. I did not wake Thorne. He slept peacefully, unaware that the daughter he loved was carving out a future that did not include either of us. I stayed there until Levana ended the call and the house fell quiet again, the truth settling heavy and immovable on my chest. By the time I finally stood, my legs shook. Tomorrow, I would have to look her in the eyes, knowing she was already planning my removal. I did not plan out of anger. Anger burns too fast. What I felt that morning was colder, steadier, the kind of clarity that comes only after you have seen the truth without its disguise. Levana was still asleep when I sat at the dining table with the deed to the house spread out in front of me. I traced my finger over my name, my full legal name written clearly, stamped cleanly, untouched by anyone else's claims. Thorne walked in, rubbing his eyes. You are up early, Maris? I had things to look at, I said. He studied me for a beat. You have been distant lately. I folded the deed back into its envelope. I am thinking ahead. He did not press further, but I could feel his worry lingering in the air. When he left to run errands, I made a quiet call to a lawyer in Mount Pleasant named Emery Haskell, an older woman with a voice just firm enough to calm nerves. I would like to review property protections, I explained. She asked no unnecessary questions. Bring the documents. I will walk you through every clause. I drove over with the deed, the mortgage paperwork, the utility statements. Emery highlighted key lines, circled protective wording, and pointed out what Lavanna could not legally claim. Your house is secure, Mrs. Ellington, she said. You just need to reinforce boundaries. Back home, I locked myself in the study and changed every password, banking, utilities, insurance. Lavanna had talked me into granting her limited access months earlier for convenience. Convenience for her. I revoked everything, watching each confirmation email come through one by one like small, reclaimed pieces of my life. When I reached the water and power accounts, something caught my eye. I checked the transaction history twice to make sure I read it correctly. Lavanna had never paid the bill she swore she handled in early spring. Not a cent. She had lied without hesitation. I closed the laptop and sat back, letting that truth settle alongside all the others. Later, at dinner, Thorne looked between us, confused by the quiet tension. Lavanna barely glanced at me as she ate, humming to herself as if nothing in the world weighed on her. She had no idea the ground beneath her was shifting, inch by inch, because I had finally chosen to stop surrendering, and she had always relied on my guilt to keep her safe. Charleston dinners are supposed to be warm, polite, and predictable. Mine was none of those things. Lavanna announced it that morning, as if she were hosting an event. Family dinner tonight, she said, tapping her phone. We need to talk like adults. Thorne hesitated. Talk about what you will see, she replied, her tone too sweet to trust. By evening, she had set the table with an enthusiasm that felt rehearsed. I took my seat slowly, watching the way she glanced at me, calculating, expectant. So, she began, pouring herself a glass of wine. I think it is time we discuss how this house is being run. Thorne looked confused. The house is fine, Lavanna. She smiled at him the way someone smiles before drawing blood. Dad, you barely know what bills are due. Let us be honest. Mom should not be handling everything alone. She needs help. My grip tightened on the napkin. I have managed this house for decades. Exactly, she said. And you should rest now. Old age is tricky. Thorne stiffened. Do not speak to your mother like that. Oh, please. She rolled her eyes. You act like she is some hero. She is overwhelmed, and you are not exactly involved. Thorne blinked, taken aback. Not involved. Yes, Lavanna said sharply. You sit in that chair, reading the same newspaper every day. You do nothing. Honestly, sometimes it feels like you are just useless. The word hit him like a slap. Thorne pushed his chair back an inch. I may be old, but I am not useless. Lavanna leaned back, satisfied with the wound she had made. She wanted him off balance. She wanted me cornered. I looked at Thorne. His face had gone pale, something fragile and wounded behind his eyes. Then he straightened slowly. If you are going to blame someone, he said quietly, do not pretend it is my fault. She frowned. What is that supposed to mean? It means I am done defending you, he whispered. Her jaw dropped. In one instant, the last shield she had counted on slipped away. The table went silent, thick with something sharp and dangerous. She turned her gaze to me next, and the look in her eyes told me she was about to strike harder than she ever had before. The moment came with a fork hitting porcelain and a silence that made my bones ache. Lavanna leaned forward, eyes blazing. You want to know the truth, she hissed. Fine. Here it is. Thorne's hand froze halfway to his glass. She jabbed a finger toward both of us. You are just freeloaders. Her voice cracked through the room like lightning. I carry everything. I keep this house running. I keep this family alive without me. You two would be lost. I felt Thorne stiffen beside me. he whispered. "Levana." "Stop!" She ignored him. "You think you built this place, Mom. Please. You are living off my future. When I inherit this house, I am the one who will fix it. Pay for it. Take care of it. I am already doing half of that." "That is not true," Thorn said, barely breathing. "Oh, right," she snapped. "Because you would know." She laughed sharply. "I run this house. I make the decisions. I am the only adult in this room." Her words cut through decades of motherhood, of sacrifice, of nights spent worrying about her while she slept safely upstairs. I sat, perfectly still, letting her spill every ounce of poison she had carried in. "Say something," she demanded. "Go on. Defend yourselves." I reached under my chair and brought out the envelope I had kept hidden. I placed it gently on the table and slid it toward her. She stared at it as if it might bite. "What is that?" she asked. "Proof," I said softly. "And a notice." Thorn watched me, wide-eyed, but he didn't interrupt. I kept my voice level, calm, unshaken. "You have 24 hours to leave this house." Levana's face went pale, her mouth trembling between rage and disbelief. "You cannot be serious." "I am," I said. She looked between us, searching for the power she had always assumed was hers. But it was gone, and she felt the loss like a blow she never expected. She did not scream this time. She negotiated, threatened, cried, and pleaded in that order. "Mom, you cannot actually mean this," Levana said first, her voice trembling with forced calm. "We can talk. We can fix this. There is nothing left to fix," I replied. She tried again an hour later. "You are making a mistake. Think about your reputation. Think about what people will say. I have thought about everything." Her composure cracked. "Fine. Then I will call Lydia. She will understand." She dialed my sister on speakerphone, her voice sugary sweet. "Aunt Lydia, Mom is throwing me out." Lydia hesitated before speaking. "Levana, you cannot stay if you have been disrespectful. Maris has every right." Levana's face hardened. She hung up without saying goodbye. By afternoon, she shifted tactics. "Thorn," she said softly, "you think this is right? You want your wife to humiliate me like this?" Thorn stepped between us. "Do not use me as leverage, Beasas. I will not argue with her decision." She flinched at his tone. "So you are choosing her over me. I am choosing what is decent." When evening came, desperation replaced anger. "Mom, I could take this to court. I helped with expenses. I contributed. You did not." I said, my voice steady. "And you know that." She let out a sharp, broken breath. "You enjoy this. Do you? Finally having power over me." "This is not about power," I said. "This is about boundaries." She shoved clothes into her suitcase, muttering under her breath. Every zipper, every thud of fabric carried years of resentment I had never wanted to see. Just before leaving, she paused in the hallway and placed something on the console table, a small wooden bird she carved in middle school, rough and crooked, with her name scratched into the bottom. "I thought you might want this," she said without turning around. Her voice wavered, but her feet never stopped moving. The door closed behind her, soft and final, leaving the little bird staring up at me like a memory I could not carry forward without pain. Levana did try to fight back. She called relatives. She blamed me. She even threatened to sue, but the papers were real. The house was mine, and the law stood exactly where it always had, on the solid ground of truth. For a few weeks, the phone rang often. Lydia checked in. My cousin Miriam asked if I was sure. My brother Samuel tried to mediate. But every time Levana told her story, the pieces fell apart in her hands. She said you two were living off her, Lydia murmured one afternoon. But the dates, the bills, the accounts, nothing lines up. It never did. I replied. Relatives stopped calling. One by one, they stopped responding to Lavana too. Thorne held my hand through it quietly. She needs to face herself, he said. We cannot shield her from that. By early spring, the house felt lighter. Air moved differently. Silence no longer threatened to crush me. It settled gently, the way peace does when it has waited too long. 3 months after the dinner, I heard a knock at the door. When I opened it, Lavana stood there, smaller somehow. Mom, she said, voice brittle. I want one more chance. I didn't answer right away. I only stepped back, walked to the side table, and picked up the same envelope I had slid across the dinner table months before. The creases were the same. The weight was the same. The truth inside it was unchanged. When I handed it to her, her face crumpled. So that is it, she whispered. It is. I said, until you can come to me with respect. I cannot open my door again. She swallowed hard, nodded once, and walked away without looking back. Thorne placed a hand on my shoulder as the door clicked shut. Our home is safe again. Maris. And for the first time in years, I believed him.